Welcome to the ACF VSU podcast. How's your traffic? Dive into the heart of college life with us as we explore the crossroads of faith, spirituality, and personal growth. Whether you're steadfast in your beliefs, or just dipping your toes into spirituality, or anywhere in between, join us for real stories, honest questions, and open discussions. Let's navigate these transformative years together with curiosity as our compass.
What up, y'all? This is Day.
This is Michael.
Unbelievable. This is going to be funny, guys. Every time, just expect Michael to chuckle.
Okay.
And we have a special guest with us today, Pastor Keith.
My name is Keith Bowman. I'm a pastor.
Thanks for being here with us.
Thank you.
right,
We
glad to be here.
appreciate. We're back, y'all. If you're here, bless you.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us again.
Yes, we're back in the cut.
So, Keith, let's get started right away. Usually here we ask this question, how's your traffic? And I'll go ahead and ask the first person, and that way you can kind of see what it means. And we're going to ask you, how's your traffic? So, Michael, how's your traffic?
Oh gosh. It's a little better than last time.
Oh, we love to see it.
Last episode, I was struggling, and it's not like we aren't still there, but it's in a little better condition now.
You had a test last episode.
I had a test last episode. Took the test. I'm confident. I think I passed, but
Nice.
We'll see. But now we're just a lot of work ahead of me right now. Have some research. It's a lot of research and work and writing. So, yeah. Traffic's going good.
things.
Yeah, senior things. But traffic's going good right now. I'm not as stressed out as before. So,
You know,
That's great.
yesterday Keith and I, we were at VSU, and
Yeah. I was hearing a little bit about that.
yeah, it's because Keith is out of town. You're visiting us from where, Keith?
I'm from Chattanooga area.
Okay, so he's come down here. He's doing a series for Easter and whatnot. But I brought that up because there was this. We were passing out invitations, and there was this guy. Keith and I were just walking, and all of a sudden he just burst and said, "No!"
Whoa.
And we just looked like, "What's going on?" He's like, "Oh, sorry guys, I gotta answer wrong on my test."
Oh.
You remember that guy?
Yeah.
oh no, that happens. That happens all the time. After the test, we're like going in the notes, and then we're just like,
Yep,
Hating
that's so
ourselves.
true.
Yeah, but let's be honest, Michael. Have you ever actually yelled into the air while you're walking down a sidewalk?
true.
You know?
I yell on the inside, but I keep
No.
I keep it.
I hear that. I hear that. You know,
I never like outbursts. Like,
that's what made that experience a little different.
And see, we were right next to him, so it really startled me. I just kind of jumped a little bit.
I might have paid money to see that. That's
All
really
right.
good.
So, Michael, who's next? Who are you gonna tag?
Day.
Oh.
How's your traffic? How's it going?
Thanks for asking. My traffic is pretty light today, and I've really appreciated Keith's company for the last couple of days. So,
That's great.
even though there's a lot going on, it's always nice to have a person just to kind of do traffic with. So if we're going to take this metaphor, somebody on the passenger side, right? Somebody just,
I like that.
because you could be on traffic by yourself and just or you can have someone and at least do life together. So
That's so true.
this week has been kind of nice, even though traffic is always traffic.
Yeah.
That's true. Camille, how's your traffic?
Let's see. Today, oh my goodness. Today's been interesting. My traffic today has been had ebbs and flows. It was a busy morning. I had some work that I was trying to get done, but now I feel good. So
You have no classes today, huh?
I did not have classes today, which are actually my hardest days because it's hard for me to stay on task when I don't have to be somewhere at a specific time. So, but I'm enjoying the weather. The weather blessed me. I sat outside for an hour. So it just breathed it in. So we're chilling now. So the traffic
Very
is
nice.
good.
I don't know if you guys can catch it on the podcast, but you can hear it in Camille's voice. There's just compare it with the other episodes. There's a little relaxation here today.
We're back in it's the space also. I was out of my element last episode.
Very nice.
Yes. Pastor Keith, how's your traffic?
Well, that's a good question. It seems like every day that I've been here, I thought I'm going to go do something cool that's like enjoyable for like myself, but I've been spending most of my time. What are you guys laughing?
I have a feeling I know where it's going, but maybe I don't.
Yeah. I've been spending most of my time working on these talks that I'm doing for the revival series that we're having at the church, and so it just hasn't panned out for me to have like a bunch of extra time. It's not that this is the first time I've ever done these talks, as Camille probably is aware because she's been watching my old sermons, but it's the first time I've ever put them on PowerPoints.
Oh, okay.
And that really restricts you, because like wherever I speak, I usually just kind of flow. Right. Just kind of like whatever the Spirit leads is where I go. And putting them in a PowerPoint format has been very restrictive, but also like I'll get there a day of and I'll start looking at it and I'll be like, man, that is not where I want to go today, even though that's where I wanted to go the other day. Right. So anyway, it's just taking a lot of time.
Mm-hmm. So some pretty heavy traffic, sounds like.
Yeah, mental traffic.
Yep. Yeah. That sounds about right. We were chuckling because the way you started out, it sounded like you wanted to do fun things in Valdosta. And Valdosta is like the small city kind of vibe. Yeah. And people come here and are very bored. That's what we thought.
So, crazy story. I've been trying to get to Grand Bay for like 3 days.
Grand Bay's nice.
And I keep telling Day this, I want to go to Grand Bay. And I keep, trying to get out there. And for a variety of whatever reasons, I haven't gotten out there yet. And it's maybe it's the only thing to do here. I don't know. But what's really surprising is like everybody I say this to is like, what's Grand Bay?
Are you serious?
Oh.
Yeah, every person that I've said it to is like, I have no idea what that is.
I think I've been there.
We've been there like
have you?
5-6 times already. Yeah.
Well, after Vanessa explained what it was, I think I've been there. I just didn't know it was called.
Yeah, so after this podcast, I'm going to Grand Bay.
There we go.
We're going.
Okay.
Very good. So, Keith, well, to what Camille was saying, tomorrow we could probably do everything and still get it done.
Everything?
In Valdosta, just because there's not that much.
Oh, I see. So even if I saved it all for 1 day,
you could.
It'll work out in like 2 hours.
But we love Valdosta,
Of course,
it's
quaint. I mean, we're here.
Quiet.
We're here.
So today's episode, we're gonna, we have our guest here, Pastor Keith, and we'd really like to. Now, Keith, when's the last time you were in college, or even grad school? I guess.
That's a great question. 2014, I graduated
about a decade
with a master's in divinity.
Okay. So keep in mind, this podcast here is really our listeners. Hopefully, I mean, we got everybody listening and everybody's welcome, but we're really trying to serve the college community, the college students, particularly in VSU, but beyond that, of course, it's a podcast. So just keep that in mind. But Keith, what I asked this before we started recording, but what do you feel is your specialty, or what kind of value you think you could provide, keeping the college audience in mind, college students?
Yeah, I don't know. That's really tough. I mean, like, you're just asking me to like fire into the dark, and there's so many different people that have different needs.
Okay.
I think. College students, it's an interesting time of life because you've transitioned from, thinking the way your parents think and doing what your parents say. There's a transitionary period during high school and post high school, like right there in your first 4 years of college, or even if you're not in college, even if you go straight from high school into working, like you're separating from your parents. You're becoming an autonomous person. Like you're you're basically creating your own beliefs and values and ideas. And when you go into that experience, there's a lot of big questions that you have to answer for yourself. Like, what do I believe apart from my parents? And how do I negotiate a new relationship with my parents that we didn't have before? And then also, like, how do I deal with all the things that the world has for me, whether it's getting your driver's license and filing all the paperwork and doing all that, or doing your taxes for the first time. You know, if your parents don't do it for you, you know, you got to do all your taxes. Whether it's going to work and getting a pay slip and having all the money taken out from your pay, you know, and like all that stuff is new and it's fresh, and you're trying to navigate it. And at some point along the line, you kind of feel like you've arrived in some areas, and in other areas you haven't arrived. And you know, what's kind of interesting to me, and I don't think this is a bad thing, but, you know, all people that are going through this experience, you know, like, they have the ability to vote. That's interesting to me, you know. Like, looking back on that time in my life, I voted. And, you know, here I am looking back, and I'm like, interesting. You know, like,
Go back.
what I thought I knew then has completely changed to now.
Hey, that's good. Question: have you guys voted? I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. So, I want to go back to something you said, which was this separate. I think this is a topic we haven't covered yet here in the podcast, and I really do think it's interesting, and it would be relevant to our listeners. This autonomy that you were talking about, and I guess coming up with your own beliefs as opposed to what your parents have been teaching you all of these years. And then you said how to build a relationship with your parents, because I'm sure because you are autonomous and you are an individual, there's disagreements. So how do you remember navigating through those disagreements with your parents?
Not well. Poorly.
Okay, and what's the wisdom that you got for us as we? And I say we, but
that's crazy, because my wisdom actually goes out to the parents more than the kids. It's like, just hold on, parents. You know, like, somehow just hold on.
Okay.
You know, because when they get to be like 25, they'll start coming around and saying, "Man, thank you guys so much." You know, and when they have their own kids, and I would encourage you to have kids. By the way, I really would. I would encourage you to have kids. Kids teach you more about life than anything else that I've done in my entire life. Hands down, nothing compares.
Wow.
But you have kids, and then all of a sudden you learn, like, oh man, I used to hate my parents because of A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I remember when I had kids, I went to my mom and I was just like, listen, I just want to say I'm sorry. Wow. Like, I am so sorry for so much stuff that I can't even quantify at this moment. Like, and I'm sure that there's more. It was like my eyes were open to my mom's reality. I thought she was the man holding me back, you know, or my dad.
Yeah.
The man holding me back, you know?
Yeah.
I'm like, and then I had kids, and I was like, oh, this is really hard. I'm so sorry. But yeah, like, I mean, you're 18, 19, 20 years old. There's still the man holding you back, right? Like, or I don't know, maybe not. That's not everybody's experience. And I'm not trying to say it's universal, but
of course.
So navigating that transition in life from being under your parents to not being under your parents, it's difficult for both parties.
Right.
You know, it's like negotiating a new relationship, but you've had a relationship based on, you know, this one identity, and now you're becoming a person that, you know, your parents no longer tell you what to do. Now you should go to your parents to ask them for advice, you know, and that's hard transition for parents to go, oh, I'm not going to tell them what to do anymore. I'm just going to give them advice and let them make their own mistakes. But that's also hard for kids, because like sometimes kids have this attitude. It's like, all right, okay, let's, I'm going to do my own thing, but I'm going to go to my parents and ask them to bail me out. Right. So like there's a little bit of like parental then being like, no, I'm not going to pay for this, you know, and then being like, don't you love me? Aren't I your child? And it's like, well, aren't you an adult? Like, just like, I mean, a couple minutes ago, you were like, I'm an adult, you know, and now you're like, you know, aren't I your child? And it's like, that's a tough thing to do. You got to figure all that stuff out. And it takes a couple of years to figure out.
Thanks for answering that. I'd like to ask, and that was what, 10 years ago or more than that, probably.
Oh, for me, that was like
Well, you don't
let's
have to,
not talk
yeah, you don't have to answer that. But let's go to the current college students here. How I'd love to hear how this is kind of turning out right now for you guys.
I must give my parents a shout out because, well, they've had a bit of practice before me. I have 2 older brothers, and one is about 9 years older than me. So they've kind of been doing this for a while.
Yeah, they got it figured out.
Yeah. So with me, they've taken a step back, and I think we had less of the conflict. I don't like confrontation also. And I'm not one to bend the rules, but they've been really gracious with me and patient in the transition, and they slid into the giving advice role very well from my perspective. And it's even an interesting transition for me because when I'm talking with them, I realize that they're not telling me what to do. And then I feel more responsible for my decisions because they are obviously not telling me what to do. They're saying, here's my 2 cents, do with it what you will. This is what I might advise you to do. So they've been doing well, but I know everyone doesn't have that experience. All my brothers, I have 3 brothers, so 2 older, 1 younger. All of us have not had the same experience because we're not the same personality or anything like that. So that was just my personal experience. But
and also, like with kid 1, like they're really teaching you how to be a parent. Kid 2, you start seeing the same stuff and you're like, oh, that was just normal. I thought you were abnormal. It's like when kid 1's going through it, you're like, are you crazy? What is wrong with you? Kid 2 comes along and you're like, oh, that's just normal kid stuff, And so the first child just gets like all of this abuse, right? And it's not like real abuse. I mean, it's stuff that maybe now that they would call, child services on you for, but like they shouldn't, like it's just like parents learning how to be parents, but like, So by your time, they're handling things different.
They are, and because I watched even with my oldest brother, and it was and he was the first one, and there were those bumps in the road that they just everyone matured, and here we are. So
and shout out to the firstborns out there.
Shout out to the firstborns.
Yes.
What about you, Mike?
I guess
wait, are you a firstborn? Here,
I am a last born.
Oh, okay.
Baby.
Smooth sailing.
I don't claim that title,
Mercy.
but that's okay. I'm the last born. I think my parents did pretty similar, I would say, in like with respect to like Camille's situation. So I have brother and sister, they're twins. So they got double whammied. And they're like completely different people. So like, I guess that maybe helped because my brother and sister are...
So let me get... I'm sorry. Your older brother and sister... So are you 3?
Yeah, we're 3.
And so the first ones were like twins?
Yeah.
And how much older are they?
2 years.
Okay.
So I feel like you should have had like an amazing experience because according to what Keith said, the first one teaches you, but like you had 2 teaching your parents.
But no, Dave.
I feel like that was like worse.
What?
No, because they're twins, so it happened at the same time.
Right, but it's double
it's like double trouble.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So if Keith's theory was correct, is this abnormal twice?
I mean, I guess so. I mean, yeah, I guess. So I went to college first, and I think my parents started, kind of letting me, I guess, respecting my autonomy. Is that, I don't know if that's a good way to say it, but it's like since after my freshman year, I think they started kind of like drawing back a little bit and like letting me make the decisions like for myself, but also giving me very good advice. But I think it like tapered off over time because I had a certain amount of, hey, we're doing this. But now it's like, I feel like I'm not completely, but a decent amount, like, I'm doing adult things now.
You're adulting.
I'm adulting now.
Yes.
Whereas, like, they just increase that, like, I guess, distance and that, like, you're your own person. You're figuring things out for your own. And we're going to let you do that. So now I feel like they're more letting me adult, and I'm just...
You're doing your thing.
I am trying to do my thing. There's more choices.
Smooth experiences.
It's like more advice. I feel like now I'm more comfortable talking with them about like advice, life, things, adulting things now than I was before, and they're just letting me handle it, and I'm handling it, and I'm going back, and they're giving their advice freely, and I'm going to them, and they're giving me advice. So I think they're doing it pretty well.
Nice.
If I was to grade them.
That's good.
You know, I'd like. I've had a bit of a different situation. So, so for me, growing up, my parents were split, and so I kind of moved around a lot, but not like as a family unit. I was just kind of moving on my own. And basically, by the time I was 16, I moved out, and my brother, my big brother, my older brother, who was like 3 years older than me, so he was like 19, 20. So it'd be interesting to get his input, because now he's a parent kind of me. And so I got this autonomy super early. I got it as a teenager at 16.
Wow. Yeah.
And I say autonomy because it's really funny. You know, I would say like to my brother, because he's technically now my guardian, I'm like, hey, can I go to my friend's house, you know, to hang out, whatever? And he'd say, no. And then he would say, no. I'm like, you can't tell me no. I'm going. And then he would say, funny, because he wouldn't like fight that. He'd say like, then why are you asking me? Just go. So my brother had basically one rule for me. He said, look, get good grades in school and nothing else. Like, really, you can do whatever you want.
How old was your brother?
He was like 19, 20 at the time, and I was like 16. And so I did whatever I wanted to do when I was 16. I went wherever I wanted to go. I showed up as late as I wanted to show up home. And so I think growing up and just moving around as a kid just developed an independence in me, and this just amplified it. I'm super independent, just my personality. And I remember shoplifting. You know, you have to learn these lessons. So I shoplifted and I got caught.
Oh no.
Some of us have to learn these lessons. I don't remember shoplifting and learning that lesson.
I was shoplifting and I got caught. And it was this store across the street from our high school. It's like a supermarket. And it was something dumb. I think it was like chapstick or something.
Oh no.
And so the security guard calls me up and basically threatens me. Yeah, it was
That's
dumb.
wild.
So he said, don't come back here. If you come back, you know, they do the threatening thing like that.
I don't know,
when
but-
you're an adult. Yeah, okay.
I don't know either. Tell us, Dave.
All right. So yeah, so you know, you're scared. And so I called my brother because in my mind, I'm like, it's better if he hears it from me.
Right.
And so I did develop a little bit of communication, and you know, I owned up like if I made a mistake. So I called them and I said, hey, if they call you from the store or whatever, I did this, I got caught. And he's like, you're an idiot. So I'm like, I know. He's like, so he's like, just stay out of trouble. I'm like, yeah, but it's kind of like that story you shared about like sharing the truth, you know? So, it was really interesting. Now let's fast forward a little bit. Now I'm like your age, a little younger than you. I'm not even gonna say your age because I don't care. I don't know, but I know that I'm like about 2 years younger than you, and I move in with my mom, and I'm super independent. Like I've been this way, but kind of life circumstances, you know. She's helping me get back on my feet, type thing. That's when I was in Maryland, actually. So I went to live with her, and man, she was like my mother. And I was like 15, and that only lasted like 3 months. I love my mom, but
Yeah.
I told my sister, I'm like, hey, can I come live with you? Because this is not gonna work. And even it was causing some problems between her and her husband, because he was like, dude, he's grown. He's like 21. Like, leave him alone. You know. So it's an interesting thing, right? You have to rebuild this relationship. But I want to transition here, Keith.
Before you transition, can I just wrap up an idea?
Yeah.
Like, knowing that you're going to be negotiating the relationship might help you not to end the relationship. Do you know?
That's good.
Like, go ahead and take the time, energy, space, thought, emotional, care, emotional care to go through the experience and not give up on the relationship. Come out on the other side. Make sure that you have like the clear boundaries. Like, I remember I had to have a conversation with my mom. It wasn't taken very well, but it actually turned out for the best in the long run. Where I was like, one day I was visiting from college and went out by a laundromat, and I looked at her and I was like, "Hey, Mom, I love you, and what I'm going to say, you're not going to like, but I'm an adult now, and so you don't get to tell me what to do anymore. But I'm happy to take your advice." And I could see her face turned red, and she was really upset. Right. But she was like, "Okay, fine." And I was like, 18. But I did. But I value my parents' advice. Yeah. Right. So like I'm, and I was very independent, as well. Like, they didn't pay for anything that I was doing. They didn't pay for my college. They didn't even pay. I went to a private Adventist high school, and I paid for all that myself. Wow. So it wasn't like I was
even more like I'm an adult.
Yeah, it wasn't like I was, under their care. Like I was doing my own thing, and I just, like there was a little bit too much parenting while I was like, if you had some skin in the game, like maybe I wouldn't say that, right? Like there's probably some people out there that are listening like, I need to have that conversation with my parents, and they're like paying for everything in your life. Like, I don't think you should have that conversation with your parents, But like if you're on your own, and like you're doing everything, like, and it's a good thing to put down those boundaries. Like, this is where we're at in our relationship. Yeah.
That's so important, Keith. And by the way, my mom and I are great. I had to move out. It's just something else that you learn. I could be like 89 years old, and if I was living with my mother, she's just going to be a mom. And a lot of the things where, I would come home late. I wasn't doing anything. I was hanging out with church, it was Saturday night, we're just hanging out till like 1, and she'd just get worried, but she tried to control. And so that's a really good thought, Keith. Look, I have another question that is relevant to what we've been talking about here. And Keith, I think you're really going to like this.
Okay.
It's an interesting thing to chew on. There's nothing new under the sun, and you're a pastor there. So Ecclesiastes 1:9 says everything repeats itself. It's in Ecclesiastes. I think it's 1:9 or like 3:15 or something. It's in Ecclesiastes. So nothing new.
Okay, we can move on.
Nothing new under the sun. History repeats itself, and we go as human beings. We go through this pattern I've seen, where life teaches us. And, I'm gathering this from your comments about, when you have kids, you learn, or, when you're around 25, you start kind of getting these lessons. But it seems like we, as parents or mentors or whatever, like we do this over and over again. Like we try to like, come on guys, like speaking from the side of wisdom, like we try to help people avoid some of these things, but life sometimes just has to be that teacher, like for us to get it. You've been talking about some very interesting things this week about God and this whole allowance of, why couldn't God just, say, you know what, I'm going to destroy Satan because he brings evil. Why is there like this necessary? Sometimes just we have to see it and experience it to know it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not necessary, but it's valuable. And I know that that's kind of a terrible statement, thinking about all the evil that's done, like, because if you look around and you say, how is that valuable? Well, anything that's bad is not necessary. Like it was never necessary. Like it never had to go. We never had to go down the road, right? But it is valuable. Even the terrible things that happen on earth, we learn lessons from those things, right? So it is valuable, and it's terrible. And I'm not saying it's good, because like bad things happen to people, and they shouldn't, and they don't, they don't deserve that sort of thing. But like it does teach society, it teaches cultures, it teaches like lessons to people. So even those terrible things are valuable, and like the effects of evil, like what the evil stuff that happens around us, like it teaches us moral goods, right? And it also teaches us moral evil, so that we can see things and we can say, wow, that's really terrible. I mean, one of the things I try to tell young people all the time is, don't get involved in drugs. Don't get involved in drinking. If you do get involved in drinking, don't become a drunk. Don't start smoking. Please don't start smoking. Like it's bad in every way possible. But like most young people are going to drink and party, and like this is the majority. Most of them will go to the parties and they'll drink and they'll have what they call a good time and whatnot. And some of them will become alcoholics because of tasting alcohol. And they're just predisposed to it. So like you never know what you're going to get. It's like Russian roulette. You pull the trigger and you're going to get whatever you're going to get. Right. And some people are going to get that alcoholics thing. And like, here's the thing, like, I've sat through AA meetings. They used to host them in a church that I pastored in. They would host the AA meetings and then the Al-Anon meetings. Al-Anon is for the families of alcoholics.
Oh, okay.
And these people's lives were destroyed. Like I can't describe it like well enough. Like these people's lives were destroyed. I've seen people that had their lives entirely together. They were making like buku's money. They had college degrees, all these things. They lost everything. Like they can't even practice their degree anymore because they were medical personnel that did dumb things. And it's like the problem of specifically alcohol, but drugs and alcohol is it's an enormous problem, and it will destroy your life. And you say this to young people, right? And when you are 18 years old, and I remember this reality in my own life, 18, 19 years old, and I have all of these friends that they're doing this stuff, and they're like, hey, you should come hang out. And I'll come hang out, and wouldn't really participate. And but just watching the evening unfold or things like that, hanging out with them, partying with them or whatnot. But like years down the road is when you see the reality set in. Like I have really close friends from high school who have lives that have been destroyed by this stuff. And you just don't think when you're in high school, that's going to be me. You don't think, oh, that's going to happen to me. You think I can control whatever happens, or I'm just having a good time, or like whatever it is. Like that's what you're thinking when you're in high school. And it's not until you're 10, 15, 20 years down the road that you see the results of all that on. And then here's another side of this, right? Maybe you're not going to be the one that has this dramatic, life because of engaging in substance abuse. But maybe you doing it is helping somebody else have those problems. Right. You're influencing the other people that are actually going to then have those problems. And it's like, well, I don't know that that's any better. Yeah. Not only that, I'm sorry, I'm monologuing. But like one more thing is like, if there is anything you could do to be more effective in life, Jordan Peterson says, number one, give up alcohol. Give up drinking. If you give up drinking, you immediately be taking major steps towards being more effective in life. And I don't know how you feel about Jordan Peterson. I don't really care. He's a smart guy, whether or not you like him or not. Like, right, so he's a smart guy. Like, and it's a good bit of advice. Like, alcohol makes people less effective. I don't know.
I mean, I think that kind of like a takeaway from this, if I'm a college student, and I really like what you said, Keith, it's not necessary, because that's the truth. And I guess when I was saying it needs to happen, I wasn't implying that it was necessary. It's just I wonder why because our parents were kids and their parents told them don't do this, and then they tell us, but then their parents told them don't do this, and it's just like this. It repeats itself over and over, and why is it that we can't learn? So, but it doesn't happen to all people, and I guess that's wisdom, right? And Proverbs talks about that. And I definitely don't know where in Proverbs, but a wise person looks at the mistakes of others and learns rather than having to go through those mistakes themselves. So as a college student, I think one of the some value that you can, place in your life is look for mentors, look for people that you can ask and, process things with.
Yeah. If you're looking down the road and you're saying, hey, I want to have 6 figures. Well, you got to start now. You got to start now. You got to start saying, okay, how am I going to get there? And like, if that's my goal, like this is how I'm going to get there. If you're looking down the road and you say, I want to have a really good family, I want to have like that picturesque life or whatever. Like, again, you got to start now. You got to start saying, I'm going to do. You can't be in this mentality that says like, well, I just want to have fun. Well, that's fine, but it's going to lead you down a particular road, right. And that's why a lot of people look around and they're like, why did they get this? Why did they get this? That's so unfair. And it's like, well, those people, they lived a different life than you lived.
Yeah. And to piggyback off of that, maybe you should talk to those people and say, hey, how did you get here? What tips do you have for me so that I can one day have what you have?
Sure.
That was good stuff.
Good. Yeah, that was really.
That was I'm helped.
All right, very nice.
Thanks for journeying with us today on How's Your Traffic, an ACF VSU podcast. Remember, this is a space where all questions are welcome and exploration is encouraged. We're here to share, support, and learn together. If our stories resonated with you, or if you're just beginning to question and seek, know that you're not alone. Stay curious, stay open, and let's keep the conversation going. See you next episode.
Bye, y'all.
Yes.
Peace.